We're here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I am so excited to be sitting down with you, Adrienne Chee, former CIO of Central Pacific Bank, and recently you've gone independent, which is awesome, and we'll get into that. We'll get into your background, but first I wanted to touch on why we're here, and that's because I personally, it's hard to find somebody as passionate as you are about Amazon Connect. And beyond Amazon Connect, just bringing contact center modernization to businesses in Hawaii. I know you're very passionate about that. That's your mission right now, right? And
absolutely.
That plays into a broader mission of accelerating the adoption of technology on the islands.
Right here at home.
Yeah, right here at home for a number of reasons, which we'll get into as well. But first, we can start with your background for our audience so that they know who you are, and then we'll get into all the juicy Connect stuff.
Sounds good.
If you'd like to just kind of go through your background and what's led you to this moment and why you're so passionate about Connect, that would be fantastic.
Happy to, Dan. And thank you for having me today. I'm definitely honored to be here and to be a subject of this discussion. And so I recently retired from Central Pacific Bank as a CIO. I was there for 38 years, and looking back into my journey, my history with banking, I was always in technology. Started as just an IT clerk, and then technician, all the way up through network and infrastructure, managing operations, and then to the division head of the bank. And then recently in 2020, being promoted to CIO, and very proud achievement for me. Something that I wasn't expecting. Loved every minute of my role, having a seat at the table, being able to help with technology modernization across the organization, especially being in the discussion of digital transformation. And so part of that was, I had the privilege, I guess, if you want to put it that way, in leading our call center modernization. And so, 2018, we started that journey. Amazon Connect was not even in the picture. They weren't even on the radar as a Connect or contact center platform. And so 2018, I was introduced to the platform, fell in love with it. I know we're going to get more into it, so I won't go too much, but fell in love with it. It's been a passion of mine ever since. Retiring recently from the bank now gives me the opportunity as an independent to pursue this passion and pursue the mission of tech enabling Hawaii businesses, especially with their contact center needs.
That's awesome. And I love that. It's such a unique story that you have. And we're going to get into that right now. So let's jump into what I want to start with is going all the way back to when you were at the bank, the why and the how you decided, hey, it's time for a change in our contact center.
Okay.
And then through the evaluation, through the implementation, the good and the bad. We're going to get real honest here. It's going to be an authentic conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And then after it was implemented, how you optimized it, how you planned for future state, and then eventually leading up to what you're doing now and your future plans.
Fantastic.
Love to get into that as well. So we'll go back. We'll rewind to 2018 you said.
2018.
And what happened? What was that moment for you and your team where you said, okay, it's time to look into a new contact center?
Yeah. So I can tell you that it wasn't something that we were looking at.
Okay.
Very honestly, we weren't looking at that. In 2018, the bank went through a leadership change. We got a new CEO in place. His name is Paul Yunamine. And he came in with the vision of digital transformation, digital first, catapulting the bank to, I remember he said this to us one time. He said, when I look at and I talk to people about Central Pacific Bank and people within the bank, or even leaders outside of the bank, they would always tell him, Central Pacific Bank, we're 4 in the state. We're number 4 in the state. And his thing was, why was everyone okay with being number 4 in the state? Why aren't we number 1? What are we doing to become number 1? That stuck with many of the leadership around the table, which is true. When everyone asked, we said, well, we're the 4th largest bank in the world, in the state. And that was it. Everyone was okay with it. Well, he had a different vision. And digital first was a mission of his. And so not only leading the bank, but even in the community, he worked with an organization called Hawaii Executive Collaborative. And he was assigned the role and the leadership role of heading up the technology aspect of Hawaii Executive Collaborative. Hawaii Executive Collaborative, if I can take a minute, was a group of leaders, business owners across the state that came together to talk about different challenges in Hawaii, whether it's homelessness, whether it's education, whether it's banking, agriculture, anything about the economy of the state and how we as leaders can help to provide solutions. Tech Enabling Hawaii was one of the streams coming out of Hawaii Executive Collaborative. Paul Yunamine was the leader of that committee, and he called me and he said, Adrienne, he said, one of the things that I want to look at is AI for call center. Of course, when he called me about that, I thought, okay, that's interesting. AI for call center, what is that?
Yeah,
I had no idea. At the time, we were on Central Pacific Bank was on a platform. It was an in-house platform. We maintained it ourselves within IT. It was a Cisco Call Manager and UCCX platform. Lots of infrastructure just for that platform in-house that we maintained. And so that was a catalyst to getting more into modernizing the call center. To be honest, before that, that wasn't even the direction that we were thinking of. It was, how do we maintain the platform? We knew that in 5 years, we would hit end of life. So in our discussions with my IT group, it was around what's the next infrastructure upgrade. We weren't thinking about the cloud. We weren't thinking about, outsourcing the services. It was all about, we own the infrastructure. Now we gotta upgrade it. We've got to make it so that we don't hit end of life. That was what we were doing. When Paul came in, he totally changed that direction for us, opened my eyes to a whole new thought about, AI, cloud. And so that was a catalyst. To be truthful and honest, that was a catalyst. It was he that came up with the idea. We talked about it. I was intrigued, took it from there. And so our journey began. And, it was, okay, Adrienne, this is yours. How are you going to do it? And it was a lot of thought because this was all new for me. Many sleepless nights. And, I was talking with, at the time, two of my boys, I have 2 boys. They were college students. And I talked to them a lot about tech. And, they said, one of my oldest sons said, boy, college kids could figure this out in a heartbeat. And I looked at him and I was, what? That's what sparked the idea. That's what sparked the idea. Talked with Paul about it. And he said, yeah, we should absolutely use college students. Let's leverage the colleges, get some interns. He bought in on the idea. We reached out to the local colleges here, University of Hawaii, Honolulu Community College, West Oahu campus of University of Hawaii, Chaminade, Hawaii Pacific University. Brought in 5 summer interns to come in and help with the research. And so that summer they came in, we hired them, they came in. And it's interesting because they're millennials.
Yep.
Their form of communication is not phone calls.
Nope.
It's chat. And I know that. I call my sons, they never answer. I chat them, they respond very quickly. Yeah. So these college students, it was the same. And but the interesting thing with the college students when they came on board, the first thing they said is, "What's a call center?" And I thought, oh my gosh. I automatically assumed I was going to bring them in. They knew what a call center was. They had no idea. So we have a contact center, call center in the bank. And the first thing out the gate was we tasked them to spend 2 weeks shadowing our contact center agents, our call center agents, and learning what it is that they do, taking notes about what do they see are challenges. What do they see as potential opportunities to solve? Basically, it's what's your feedback based on the experience that you just went through? And then I can tell you, when they came back after the 2 weeks, they were mortified. They were mortified. They had no idea what a call center was. They had no idea that many people sat behind those phones and answered calls. And I think a lot of what they noticed off the back was there was a lot of conversations from customers that was simple, easy questions. What's my balance? Where can I go to find out about a loan? And to them, it was, why are people answering these questions? And there were two things. What they noticed is that in our demographics, we have a lot of older customers that aren't inclined to technology. They don't know how to navigate technology. So calling an IVR to get their balance just wasn't what they wanted to do. But then you had those that did. That the younger generations that did call the IVR to self-service. But then for some reason, after going through their journey, there was at some point, they had another question that brought them back to an agent. So that was the why. Why was that happening? What can we do? Are there systems out there, platforms out there that can help change that experience or provide that service, that full self-service journey for the customers that do want to just self-service? So 2 weeks they came back, they had all their notes, they were revving to go, and so they did an outreach. Well, let me back up. So what they did was they came back, they shared with me their findings, their notes, their comments, the good, the bad, the ugly, and said, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do. So they called, they went on the internet. Millennials, they're all about tech.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're resourceful. They know where to find everything. Mm-hmm. So they all spent a lot of time. They spent the next 2 weeks doing research over the internet, getting contact information of companies, reaching out to Gartner, Forrester white papers, taking a look at what are their quadrants saying about who the players are. And it's funny because at the time, AWS was not on any of those quadrants at all.
Interesting.
At all. And so when they showed it to me, I said, okay, so you're going to start reaching out to these. And of course they were sticking with, the most top right quadrant mm-hmm. of leaders first, and then working their way around. But they did reach out to all of them. Most were open to answering questions. Some wanted, some companies wanted to speak to, maybe other leaders, higher leaders, because they did come across and say, hey, I'm a summer intern here. I'm doing some research for the bank. Some weren't open to talking to them, and some were. But even outside of that, for these college students and being millennials, they also reached out to those that weren't on there. And the reason is because those were the companies and vendors they were familiar with. AWS, Amazon, Google, Apple, Microsoft, none of them were on those quadrants. But they reached out because that's who they knew. That's the tech that they play with, mm-hmm. that they use every day.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, you know what? I'm going to call. I'm going to call them anyway and see what they have. And so they went through all of that. And I was surprised when they came back and they did their final report, and they said, Amazon Connect. And my face was, what? What is that? Amazon
it was relatively new at that point too. It had just
new.
launched in 2017.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first time I ever heard of Amazon Connect. And one of the things that the interns talked about was the Amazon team. And at the time, the leader of the team that we were working with, Chris Hernandez from AWS, was very interactive with them. He took them through, he spent the time to educate them around the platform, show them what it does, what it can do. And I think the beauty of that was because they had already had experience, even if it was 2 weeks shadowing our agents, they could relate to what Chris was showing them. And he spent, I think he spent 80% of the research that they got was from AWS. All of the other companies, Microsoft was another big one, but Microsoft didn't have anything. They said, "Hey, we've got tools that we can build something." That's not what they were looking for, which I was glad.
Right. Yeah.
I was glad. Google had something. They weren't impressed. It was great to see, but didn't quite hit the points that they were looking for. And so, and then it was cute because during their final presentation, as they're sharing with us, their research, their experiences through their research, their interactions with the different vendors. And I want to say they talked to about 20 different products, services, vendors, including Avaya, Genesys, NICE, all the big, even Cisco. At the end of this, they said Cisco, they were disappointed with the Cisco conversation because we were on Cisco. And so because we were an existing customer, they thought it would have been more interactive, but it wasn't. They got very few information. They were referred to and sent links, said, "Hey, go look this up." Well, they already saw that. Mm-hmm. But Amazon by far spent the most time with them, talked about the platform, talked about education and training, showed them full demos that they could use to show us during the final presentation. And but the other reason, and one of the big reasons for them, mm-hmm. was that they came out and they said, "And here's the greatest thing." And so I looked at them, I said, "Okay, what is it?" "It's free." And I said, "What do you mean it's free? Nothing's free."
Right.
They're like, "No, really, it's free." And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "We can sign up today and build an instance, and it's free. There's no cost of entry." And I said, "Okay, but what happens if we want to get off? What's the contract?" "There's no contract." "What do you mean there's no contract?" I totally believe that we missed something.
This is all a new concept to you.
It was all a new concept.
In the cloud. Yeah.
Yeah. This consumption-based concept was brand new. And I said that this can't be real. This can't be true. I sent them back. I said, "Go give me more information." I said, "This is," yeah. They're like, "No, it's for real."
Yeah.
It's for real. And so, so I said, "Go do more information. Get back to me. There's got to be a contract somewhere." Well, what they did was they ended up setting up a call with me with Chris Hernandez from AWS and his team. And we had great conversation. And I was honest with him. I said, "Chris, I've never heard of this platform. You're not even on the quadrants. You're not even on the radar." And so he took the time. He took the time to kind of explain, Connect and how far it's come along, and that it was primarily within the Amazon ecosystem. And that now it's something that they were bringing out to the public. And I was even more excited at that point because I thought, wow, when it's a new platform, it's hitting all the points that we're looking for. But we get to be the ones to pilot it and bring it to the table for the state of Hawaii. And so within the week, they were able to convince me that it is consumption-based. It is free, zero cost of entrance and zero cost of exit. And the conversations from there was, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. How do we get moving? And we made the decision we're going to go with Connect. And Chris and his team, the AWS team, immediately set up meetings with us, set up a plan with us. And, within a few months, they were on island.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like the main reasons you went with Connect then was, they took the time to really sit down with you and evaluate your needs and
Absolutely.
truly understand your environment and where you want it to be, not just now, but in the future.
Absolutely.
Right? And how to service your new customers is very interesting. You made the point about the younger generation and how they want to interact with brands, because we're at this point in time where millennials and even Gen Z now are becoming your main customers.
Oh, absolutely.
At the bank.
Yes.
And they want to get information and interact with the bank in a much different way than the older generations,
That's
right? Like
correct.
you said, they don't want to pick up the phone. They're like, a phone call, what is that? They want to be able to get self-service. They want a quick resolution of their problem via text.
Absolutely.
Right? Or a visual IVR, something on their phone where they don't even have to talk to somebody sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting you mentioned that. And Amazon positioned you in a way to service those needs for the younger customers that will be your main customers for actually decades to come now, right? So you're
That's
kind of
right.
future-proofing yourself in that way. And then also the pricing. I think that sounds like number two. The other reason you went with Connect is because of this consumption model, pay as you go.
Right.
And that gives you the ability too. You don't have to sign some multi-year,
Well, it's a commitment.
$1 million contract.
Right.
You can try things out. You can even test things out and fail. But the
Right.
beauty is you didn't really pay anything for it. You can
That's
figure out what
correct.
works. And then when it does, you can scale it up.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And it's not just the newer generation, but it also, we didn't lose sight of the older generation.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So we could service our entire demographics with the Amazon Connect
Well, that's a great
platform.
point too. You can do
Right.
everything.
We can do everything.
No matter how somebody wants to interact with your brand, you can do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, so that cost of being free stuck with us. And we said, and then it was at that point, it was zero risk. It was zero risk. So why not?
Right.
And AWS was willing to walk us through that journey, to share. And it didn't stop there, right? It didn't stop there. Chris and the team was always in touch with us. We had weekly meetings. I could pick up the phone at any time if I had a question and go, hey, ABC, whatever the question was, Chris would pick it up. Or he'd get back to me immediately. So very responsive.
It's hard to find that kind of service,
Absolutely.
that personal touch. You could text them when you need something.
Absolutely. And that still stands true today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that goes into a little plug for AWS and Amazon, right?
Yeah.
The customer obsessed mantra that they have.
Right.
And they're living that out through you. And that's a big reason why you decided to go with Connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, Connect was just it was hitting all the points in terms of digital transformation, tech enabling our organization. One of the things that I didn't mention earlier is another problem that we were faced with is maintaining our workforce for call center, for contact center. We're here on an island. Everyone switches between companies on the island. And so, how do we take the repetitive work away from the agents so that they can focus on the more higher value conversations for our customers, right? So we can spend the time with those high value customers, those high value questions, things that we can help, that we can spend the time to make a difference in our customers' relationship, in their experience, and in their needs. But if what we noticed was our clients or our agents were spending a lot of time with repetitive, easy, self-serviceable questions. And so another challenge that we were looking for is how can we use digital to augment our agents, not replace them, but augment what our agents do so that our agents can be freed up to focus on much higher value conversations. So yeah, and Amazon Connect just hit all the marks.
Yeah, that's
all the
awesome.
marks. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so walk me through now the implementation of Connect. So you've decided, okay, we're going with Connect.
Yep.
Now it's time to actually implement it and start using it. So walk me through how that process was, the good and the bad, right?
Sure.
Let's talk through challenges. Let's talk through what went well, what you would do differently if you could do it all over again. And then any advice you'd have for somebody like yourself, maybe a CIO or a VP of contact center.
Sure.
What would you say to them? Things to look out for, things to double down on.
Yeah.
That would be great to hear about.
So our journey following our research and making the decision, we still weren't sure. In all honesty, we still weren't sure. So it was, how do we now take this platform and apply it and really test it out? So our initial decision was not to touch our current contact center. So we left them alone. That's our external facing organization. So what we did was we took a look at what are those internal departments that service our internal customers. How do they do it? What are those challenges? Because now remember, as we were researching the platforms and the potential products, what we didn't take into account was we were so focused on the external customer experience. What about the employee experience? What about the internal experience?
Absolutely.
So we address 50% of the experience journey. We miss the employee experience. And we got to realizing that as we got into the implementation discussion. And so what we said was, hey, okay, great. This is an opportunity, right, for us to now look at how can we use the Amazon Connect platform for satisfying our employee experience engagement. So at that point, we said, okay, let's take Amazon Connect. Let's implement it internally. So we started with our IT help desk, which was reporting up to me at the time. And as we started to look around the organization, we said, what are other areas? Our retail collections, our deposit operations, our lending operations, all had small clusters of people that were servicing calls, indirect agents, if you will. And so, but they were playing that role. They were playing that role of internal call center agents for their particular line of business. And so we took a look at that and we said, hey, okay, there's an opportunity for us to implement the platform, do a proof of concept with our internal, again, still managing the risk, and managing disruption. Now, these other areas, these internal areas of operation, didn't have any call center product or platform. So we were introducing completely new. And of course, whenever you introduce something new, it's all about change. And so it was, how were we going to manage the change across the organization to embrace this new platform, this new technology? We had Cisco Call Manager as our internal voice over IP system. Everyone had their own numbers. And so there were so many things that we had to think about. How do we allow them to keep the same numbers? How can people still reach them? If we bring in Amazon Connect, does that mean our employees have to go through a whole new phone directory? It was important to minimize disruption, that people can still contact people internally through Connect using their same extensions that they had in Call Manager. So that was, I think, the first big issue we needed to make sure to minimize the disruption. Put a lot of thought into that. We started off the implementation with IT Help Desk. They were our first group of guinea pigs. That's where we set it up and we got them on, and the feedback from them was important. And what was interesting is that before implementing within the calls within our IT help desk, I talked to my service desk manager. I brought her in to the conversation very early, introduced her to Chris and the team, got her involved and excited about the platform. And I think that made a difference because she was their leader. And if she was excited about it, then our communication, that consistent excitement, could be communicated all the way down to her team. And so, and it did. She got excited. She was, the thought that she could listen to the conversations. She could use those recorded conversations as coaching opportunities. She would have metrics. A lot of times I would ask her, What's our KPIs? Everything at the time was KPI driven. What's your KPIs? Where's your reports? And she would get frustrated because she couldn't get that through Cisco. And to understand that, wow, the business value that Connect was bringing to the table for her organization, for her management reporting, she was excited. She was even more excited at the fact that her agents could be anywhere in the organization. With Call Manager, we had to be on site. And the thought that, wow, this could be the journey to remote offices, to remote work, was exciting to her. People could start to now go, hey, wait a minute, think about their own, like, wow, what could be? You mean we can be anywhere as long as we have an internet connection? And so they now, the champions of the platform, extended out organically, if you will, because we started to get more buy-in, excitement, internal evangelists, to talk to other areas to say, hey, this is what we're experiencing. So we engaged a partner at the time of AWS, a company called Aspen.
Which is now Morse.
Now Morse.
Yes.
It's funny. We started in 2018 with Aspen, and fast forward 5-6 years now, we're back with Aspen, now Morse, which is an exciting relationship that we're looking forward to. So they came in, Aspen, now Morse came in and helped us to build an instance. And I can literally tell you we did it in 1 hour right after lunch.
That's incredible.
Built the instance, built the call flows. They showed us, they worked, the difference is that Morse Aspen worked with us to teach us what they were doing. That made a difference. So we understood when they were building the workflows, all graphics interface. So just it's flow charting. And it was as simple as that. And it was in a way that we could easily understand it. No one was afraid. No one was scared. But we built it in 1 hour.
It's amazing.
We built it in 1 hour. We were taking phone calls 15 minutes after that.
It's incredible. It's almost unbelievable, right?
Never heard of.
Compared to what you were used to in the past. Yeah, exactly. You've been doing things a certain way for decades. And you're used to long implementations. Oh, this is going to take months.
Exactly.
1 hour, you were up and running.
1 hour, we had the call flow for our help desk up and running. It was a simple, basic call flow. But within the next 5 days, we added on top of, just features, functions. We added, by the end of the week, we had call recording going. We had customer sentiment. We activated contact lens. We did customer authentication, internal customer authentication. And what I mean by that is the service desk was tasked with password resets. So when a caller called in, they'd have to give 2 pieces of information. There were 3 choices. Last 4 digits of their social security, their date of birth, or I believe it was their login ID. I don't remember exactly what the third one was. And they would ask that every single time. By the end of that week, we had that automated through automatic authentication, where we could connect to the data. The customer would call in, they would put in their employee ID, and Amazon Connect would automatically do the authentication for them. So it would ask them the questions. The caller would respond. And then there would be a whisper to our service desk agents that says, customer has been authenticated. So then what that allowed, and that shaved a good 10 minutes off the conversation.
It's a much better customer experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And necessary for banks to identify who's calling.
That's right.
Because compliance issues, right? You have to do that.
That's right.
Same with healthcare.
Yeah.
Banks and healthcare, highly regulated.
Yeah.
This is functionality you need. And
yes,
it makes the customer experience much better.
Absolutely. And because we started internally, with our employees, their experience was great. So what did we build? We now built more fans of the platform. more people that could talk to it said, hey, yeah, I called in and I was able to get help. The system authenticated me. The agent call center, the help desk team got on, and they were then just able to, hey, thank you for calling. They knew who was calling. They addressed the caller by name and said, I've just reset your password. Can you test? And they were off and running on their way. So the experience all around was just great out the gate with Connect platform. Definitely a successful experience internally. And so we ran internally with Amazon Connect, slowly bringing on our deposit operations team, our lending operations team, getting into our retail collections team. And these are all internal call centers servicing only employees, bringing them on and having them use the platform. And so we did that for about 5 years. And then just last year, finally, we implemented it at our external-facing call center.
So it was a multi-phased approach. You didn't do everything all at once.
We didn't do anything at once. Yes. And I think, AWS also, in partnership with Aspen, now Morse, came out multiple times during those years to do lunch and learns, which was huge. And of course, Central Pacific Bank was always at the table, along with partner businesses across the state of Hawaii. And they also did free boot camps. AWS, whatever their model is, it's phenomenal. They are definitely there for clients, potential clients, building opportunities. They understand and they get to know the people that they're working with, especially in the different economies. Hawaii has its own specific challenges, but they listen, right? They listen, and Connect just hits all the marks. And I think one of the main things, it's affordable. It's a technology that's affordable that people can utilize.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And something I wanted to double click on, because you and I were just talking a little bit about this before this conversation started, was the importance of choosing a good AWS partner, a good SI. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I know you want to get that message out to anyone evaluating Connect, and especially businesses in the state of Hawaii that really take your time to make sure this is not just, somebody helping you implement, but it's a true business partner for the long term. And that's very, very important. If it goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
In how successful you are with Connect, not just AWS, but the partner you choose, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I talked about the internal experience, the internal implementation, and what we learned there. And it was so valuable. But it wasn't an internal implementation. It was just with our employees. And we used it to build our foundation around getting ready to make that decision on what we were going to do with our external facing call center. And so in 2021 is when we made the conscious decision of, okay, we are now going to look at taking Connect to our real call center, the real customer experience call center. And so we partnered with the business, and our director, Lori Betancourt. She was and still is the director of call center for Central Pacific Bank. And at the time when we started to talk about now moving into this, this new direction for call center, it was important to partner with her. In the internal space, IT led the journey. And that was okay because it was internal, right? It was internal operations. When we moved to addressing the external contact center, we had to do a shift. We had to say, this is not an IT-led initiative. It has to be led and owned by the business. And so I made that conscious decision that I was going to partner tightly with Lori to understand, because it's her business, it's her organization. I don't understand it. I don't do customer-facing phone calls. And so we spent a lot of time, she and I spent a lot of time talking story She provided the business requirements. I tacked onto that how we can do it technically with Amazon Connect. What I couldn't answer, we reached out to AWS. At the time that we started the journey with our external contact center, we didn't have an integration partner in mind. And so, when we started it, we focused on the end of life.
Mm-hmm.
That was our driver. Hey, look, we're on a Cisco platform. It's an internally managed system, on premise. There were so many things. There was end of life. There was business continuity and disaster recovery. There was the ability. One of the things that Lori always wanted to do, our director wanted to do, was remote workers. We couldn't do that, not with Cisco. And so those were the things that we talked about, that we focused on. It was it was about call center modernization, but at a much smaller scale. And so that's what we focused on. That's what we looked into. Started the journey with her plans, her project plans and her program, what we're going to do, talk to the executives on what phase one, and we were instantly going to talk about phases. It wasn't going to be big ideas, big bang rollout. We knew that was not going to be smart. So we went with Amazon Connect. We got the approval to move forward, and then the big question was, who would be our partner? And so we worked with AWS. We got an implementation partner, an integration partner. Dan, one of the things I can tell you is that when anyone selects an integration partner, you really want to focus on the relationship. While we talk about what we want to do today, a true integration partner we'll start with, that's great. But where do you want to be at the end? What is your expected business outcomes? Mm-hmm. How do you define success at the end of this journey? We learned that after the fact, unfortunately. But it's so important. It's so important before you start your journey. Do your research on an integration partner. Ask them for customer references, good and bad. And if those references that they give you, every single one of them is good, ask again. And if they don't, then you got to question that. You have to question that. We didn't do that.
Okay.
We did not do that. So one of the things that I would do differently is certainly be more, challenge more. The integration partner that you choose and those customer reference are really important. That's one thing. The other thing is, how do they, when you sat at the table with them, what was the conversation like? And I can tell you our selection, the conversation was around, what do you want to do? Well, this is what we want to do. And what we were focused on is the today. We never talked about tomorrow. That's not where the conversation went. And it was like, okay, here's what you guys want to do. Here's what we're going to give you. Here's the statement of work. And here's what we're going to deliver. Okay.
So there was no joint roadmap collaboration.
There was no joint roadmap collaboration, any of that. Okay. It was, okay, we get it. This is what you folks want to do. This is what we're going to build for you.
Okay.
The other conversation with the integration partner is really look into, what are you going to build? Because for us, it was important for us, and we've said that multiple times. You've got to have that trusting relationship. You've got to have, believe that the partner is in it with you, right? Throughout the entire journey, that this is going to be a lifelong relationship. When we started out, we were clear that we said, we always want to be a part of the design. We always want to be a part of what you're going to build. The advantage that we had at Central Pacific Bank is that we had many years of experience on the platform because of our internal implementation. So we could speak to and we could challenge as to what was out of the box versus building custom. We wanted to stay as vanilla as possible for the purpose of being able to maintain the system, just administrative things on the system. We wanted to be able to maintain those things internally. We didn't want to have to rely on simple tasks, administrative tasks, on a provider or vendor or whoever the integration partner was. We didn't realize that at the time, the partner that we picked, we didn't do enough to ask what were they looking to get out of it? That was a big question that we missed, because their whole goal was to tie us into a long-term, annual, very expensive managed services contract.
Okay.
And in doing so, what they did was they built a lot of custom interfaces, the CCP was customized. The holiday tables were customized. And that work, really, we could not do anything. If it broke, we couldn't fix it ourselves. We had to rely on the integration partner to do it.
And part of that problem wasn't simply just that it was customized. It's that you weren't there.
We weren't part of the build.
While you weren't part of the build.
Yeah. And I think more importantly, we weren't included in the decision.
Okay.
They built it. They ran off. They built it. They came back and said, here it is. And we said, whoa, what is this? What's what you asked for? Mm-hmm. No, that's not what we asked for. We asked to be a part of the design. We asked to be a part of the decision. We asked to be a part of, okay, what are we going to roll out? And none of that we weren't afforded that. They built it, they brought it back and said, here it is, go test it. And there were many challenges like that throughout the entire relationship. Everything was great up until the point that we signed. And once it was signed, the relationship really went differently. And again, I think if we had done a lot more client reference due diligence and pushed harder in speaking to client references, I think it might have made some difference. But just to speak to just a simple challenge, mm-hmm. and this is just a basic challenge, mm-hmm. and this is where one example that I use with anyone that I talk to in selecting an integration partner. One specific challenge that we had was holiday tables, right? Amazon Connect comes with tables already out the box. But our partner at the time decided to customize it. And so what the portal allowed us to do was forecast all of the holiday dates throughout the year. So we did. We forecasted, we put it all in. Our director, Lori, entered all of the holiday dates for all of 2023. And lo and behold, January 23 comes up, January 23rd, 2023 comes up, and we can't open our call center. Telecoms are up, systems are up, AWS is up, everyone's up. No customers are having any issues. We go on to the AWS dashboard to see, are there any reported issues going on with the platform? Nothing. We call our local partners here at AWS. They couldn't figure it out. We were down for half a day trying to figure out why we could not open our call center. And so our agents spent half a day listening to voice messages, calling customers back. But if customers called back into the call center, they went right back into the voicemail again. Very frustrating. A lot of customers, with social media today, mm-hmm. it's so easy for people to speak out, and we don't want the negative publicity. And so what it came down to is as we started to look more and more into the platform, we finally figured out we couldn't do it. We had to call the integration partner. And so we did. They wouldn't help us. They said, well, you declined the annual contract, maintenance contract, so we can't help you. Well, what do you mean you can't help me? You don't have a maintenance contract with us. We said, but we're having a problem with something that you built that doesn't work. And they said, well, okay, here's what we can do. we can help you. It's going to cost you $4,000. And we said, $4,000? And they said, yes, $4,000. And we said, look, right now, we just need somebody to get on with us, take a look at what is going on. They finally, it took us half a day for them to finally agree to even just look at their code. So very disappointing experience, even after implementation. And during the implementation is one thing, but how is your partner going to be after implementation? And so, they came on. They finally came on. They got the developer on. He took a look, took him 10 seconds to identify what the problem is, And what he said was, hey, you guys put in all the dates. Today is January 23rd, 2023. There's a date in the table, November 23rd, 2023. The problem is my code is broken. It's not reading 2-digit months. And we said, what? Really? So we said, well, can you fix it? And he said, yeah, I can fix it. Okay, can you fix it? Well, no, I can fix it, but you don't have a contract with us. Mm-hmm. And it all came down to the money. It wasn't about how do we make it, how do we correct the problem that we created? How do we partner with the customer to make it right? And then worry about the money later, but out the gate, it was all about money. And they said, well, we can fix it, but it's going to cost you $4,000. And Lori looked at me, I looked at Lori, and I said, take the dates out. So we cleared all the dates. System came right up. And so today what we do is we do it manually. Every month we will input the dates manually. We will not forecast the dates. And that's, that's just a basic feature. But that was a challenge that we went through with our integration partner.
It is a challenge. And that's the reality of the world, right? We don't need to sit here and pretend like every implementation is perfect. We can be honest about this. And
it's never going to be.
It's never going to be. That's a pipe dream.
Right.
And we tell our customers that if you expect absolute perfection, you might be let down. That's just the reality of it. I think we're fantastic. Right. I mean, I'm biased, but I think we're fantastic. But we're dealing with a bunch of humans here, and there can be mistakes, expectations can be missed.
Yes.
And, it's because it's not just about the Connect product, which, as we've been talking about, is a fantastic product, right? Yes. But there's a whole different component of it, and that is the partner that you choose to help you design, consult on your roadmap, implement it, optimize it. That is vital to your success deploying Connect and getting to those outcomes that you were talking about, right? Those end state outcomes, desired business outcomes that you need to get to.
Right.
And that's one thing I really appreciate and respect about you, Adrienne, is you're very open and honest about even the challenges, because as we've talked about, you're very passionate about Connect, which I love.
Absolutely.
But you're not afraid to talk about, hey, these are the challenges we had.
Right.
And that is incredibly valuable information to anybody evaluating this platform. Those just little questions that you missed.
Yes.
You can help somebody else ask those questions and be better for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And those little ones turned out to be big ones post-implementation.
Yeah.
And really made a difference. You want to look for somebody that is in it with you, not just for them. And unfortunately for us in our implementation, the integration partner that we selected, it was all about them. It was how do they capture the business long term, and really make us dependent on them. And that's not the kind of partner that we're looking for. We don't want someone that's, if I can say this, is we don't want someone to hold us hostage. And that's the direction that it was headed in, just in the conversations that we were having. And that's what I want to share with other folks that are thinking about their journey and Amazon Connect. It's the platform, and AWS is a proven platform. It's great. It will meet the requirements that you're looking for, but you're going to need a partner. And that decision is much larger than the decision whether you go with Amazon Connect or not. That's going to make the difference. Your experience, your build, what you end up with at the end, your results, is going to be in the partnership that you select.
That truly is incredible insight that many people don't know. So I'm glad you're sharing that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good about the implementation too, right?
There is.
So
there is.
Obviously there's a few hiccups, but overall it's been a very, very,
fantastic,
very good Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So
I
could you
can
talk a
tell
little
you-
bit more about kind of the positive outcomes that you've seen from Connect, and then
Yeah.
also get into, okay, now that we've seen these, this is what we want to do next, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So on the positive side of things, we cut our costs exponentially. You know, we were on the Cisco platform anywhere between 300 to 400,000 annually. Today, because it's consumption based, 140,000 a year.
It's a lot of money.
Huge savings, right?
Yeah.
Huge savings.
And it's all relative too.
It's all
A bigger
relative.
company would see more savings, smaller maybe a little bit
Absolutely.
smaller, but relative to how much you were spending, it's a big number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we did not, and just to be clear, we did not add staff to manage the platform internally. You know, so we didn't have to add staff. So it depends on, and again, we had the privilege and we had the opportunity of deploying this internally first. So we had many years of playing with it, learning it, understanding it. We didn't have to hire staff, but the platform is that simple that you can teach your internal staff, whoever you have, to manage. And remember, it's all in the cloud, right? It's all in the cloud. So the other thing is that we got instant business continuity and disaster recovery. And that's the other thing that I want to tell people. Amazon Connect, with Amazon Connect, because it's a cloud-based service, you get instant business continuity and disaster recovery for the application. There are other components. You got telecom sets before that. You've got, your own internal internet service. So there's other components to that connectivity. But the Amazon Connect platform in and of itself, you don't have to build a standby system. You already get that with the platform, right? So cost savings, business continuity, disaster recovery, remote workforce. You've now just created the ability to have your agents work remotely, the ability to hire agents who are remotely. You've gotten the opportunity, and if your company or organization or state allows you the ability to hire outside of your state, you get that with Amazon Connect. There's so many positives. Consumption-based, again, you can't beat that. Zero cost of exit, zero cost of entry. And, it's AWS. We can pick up the phone anytime and reach out to AWS, and they're always responsive. Always responsive. You can get a hold of anyone that you need to, and hopefully in an integration partner that you partner with, you'll also have that same experience. That's the goal. That's the hope. But the fact that I don't have to maintain, Dan, our own infrastructure. End of life went out the door. I never have to worry about that again for a critical platform, right? For a critical platform. Outbound calling, Lori now has the ability to do outbound calling, and we can now take a look at how we can create and turn her organization into a profit center, right? Turning them into not just, operational agents, but sales agents, a revenue center. There's so many possibilities, and we've just set her organization up for that opportunity.
And that is incredibly impactful to a business. Like you said, beyond operations, now you can be a revenue center.
Yes. Huge.
While cutting costs.
Yes. Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
One thing I really like that you mentioned too was agent empowerment, because we talk about contact center and CX, which stands for customer experience.
Right.
We tend to focus solely on the customer, which the customer is most important, right?
Right.
We always want to do right by the customer. However, a huge component of this is agent empowerment and giving your employees a better experience at work.
Yeah.
Helping them be less frustrated. Everybody knows taking calls all day from customers, good or bad, is exhausting, and it can be frustrating. So how are we giving them the tools to help them be more effective at their job, be less frustrated?
Yes.
Go home at the end of the day like, that was easy, because Connect is making it easy for me, night and day better than it was before. You touched on it a little bit, but could you touch a little bit more on the feedback you got from your employees after switching to connect?
Yeah. So, for the agents, and even for Lori, her biggest concern was, what is this going to look like? What's going to be, I should say, minimizing the disruption once we make the change. She wanted to make sure that it was going to be seamless to our agents. She wanted to make sure that it was going to be that our agents are taking calls today, because we did it over a weeknight, and we did that purposely because we wanted to make sure if there were issues, we could get that taken care of right away before heading into the weekend. And then, of course, Monday coming around, which are heavy days. And so for the agents, it was, what was the learning curve? What was, how we're come the next morning? How do they take calls? How do they help the customer? Am I still going to be, am I going to be challenged? Because, they got all new technology, meaning they're, it was now laptops instead of virtual desktops or physical desktops. They were going to be set up as a mobile agent, whether they were going to be in the office or outside of the office, completely new. Well, Connect allowed that capability. And so for the agents, it was, they got in the next day and it was just like the day before. They could take the calls, but even more to that was customer authentication and the ability. Oh, so here's the great thing. And they get a lot of calls about, here's where I'm at. I'm here on the island. I'm trying to look for your nearest branch. The agents today can go in and using Pinpoint, they can drop a pin. And they go, okay, here, what's your cell? If they don't have the cell number, they ask for the cell number. Let me drop this pin to you. Drops a pin to their cell phone. The customer can click on it, brings up the map, and takes them directly to the nearest ATM, the nearest branch. That was huge for them because they didn't have to spend time. They didn't have to spend time looking it up, explaining to the customer, here's the address, and here's how you get there. So that was huge for them. Employee directory. They used to spend a lot of time looking up in the directory, the numbers, the person to call. With the Amazon Connect implementation, we were able to implement an internal directory to Connect that was just at the caller's fingertips, the agent's fingertips. And they could just say, okay, here it is, press the button and contact the person internally. So just a lot of, operation, just little things that made a difference. Being able to take a look at their calls and look at how they could have handled it better, just the coaching opportunities, how they can better themselves with contact lens and the call analytics, the ability for, to have better conversations with their leadership around how they did, but also just to be able to see real time the call queues. How many callers are in the queue? What's the callback queue looks like? They just had more visibility in the initial implementation to their organization, to their operations, to how things were going. And so it was exciting for them. It was definitely exciting for them. And of course, introducing the ability to work remotely was just huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned something very interesting too, that visibility. So we all know what they say now, right? Data is more valuable than oil.
Yes.
And what a lot of people don't realize is there's so much data locked in the contact center that's just sitting there if you can have access to it in a meaningful way, which most people don't on these more legacy platforms. So coming on to Connect is actually going to unlock that data for you that you can not only use in the contact center, but everywhere throughout the business.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that was, so in our phase 1 of the implementation, the data analytics piece was not included in that phase 1, which we would have liked to have had that. So it's something that we're looking at. The data is there, and we know that we can use it. But in the second phase, we're going to focus a lot around data and analytics, being able to provide. Get away from the KPIs. We know the KPIs. We see it. We can see, what our our metrics look like. But to your point, our next phase is we do want to look into how do we take that data, how do we harvest it, and how do we use it to empower our business, not just in call center, but just to give feedback to our leadership and to our organization on where our gaps are, what are people asking, where are we falling short, and through what channel. Is it at our branch? Is it brick and mortar? Is it our digital channels? Is it our website? To help us improve that, to continue to build and improve that experience all the way around the organization. And I know Connect in the ability to collect that data can do that for us. And that's the next journey. And I keep saying us as if, of course I've retired from the bank, but my heart is still there. And so I'm excited to see what Central Pacific Bank will do in the next journey around that data analytics and building around that that whole data ecosystem to see where we can go from there, where they can go from there.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad to hear that they're doing that as part of the next phase, because that's a gold mine for them.
It is.
We use the word transform pretty loosely.
Yes.
Right? It's a bit cliche, but that can truly transform a business, having access to that data and utilizing it to move the business forward.
Absolutely.
Incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. Because, data is what tells the story. Yeah. And, we've just entered this arena with our external contact center. We've just entered the art of what's possible. And we're just scratching the surface. We're collecting data from all different, from our voice calls, from our IVR, but from even customer feedback, which reminds me, that was another, we couldn't do random surveys.
Okay.
We enable contact center. We can now do random surveys. We can, before it was, agents could pick and choose who they want, what customers they wanted to provide the survey to. Now the system does it automatically, that's great, because that's what you want. You want that real feedback in a random fashion, not where we can control who gets the survey and who doesn't. But that's another form of data that we have, that we can mine, that we can report on to really tell our true story of how we're really doing in terms of customer experience.
Absolutely. You combine the surveys with the data that is monitoring conversations between agents and customers.
Yes.
There's so much there that you can learn, even more so than what the surveys will provide, because people know they're taking a survey that can influence the marks that they give.
Exactly.
But those genuine, authentic interactions that somebody has while calling in or interacting with a chat agent or a chat bot is very authentic.
Yes.
There's so much information to glean from those interactions too.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have something in place to get that data and put it and put it in front of you in a meaningful way where you can actually act on it, it's kind of a waste.
Yeah, absolutely. We just Central Pacific Bank just got into the platform end of August, went live on August 31st. So we've got a few months under our belt. We're hitting now up to the 1 year mark. And I have to say it's been, the system has performed exactly to what we expected. And so now we're getting ready, I keep saying we, but the bank is getting ready for the second phase of their journey. And it's going to be around analytics. It's going to be around, even more AI that can help the agents. We talked about wisdom, being able to pop up agent
real-time documentation based on what somebody says.
Exactly.
Hey, I need to file a claim. All of a sudden, in seconds, the agents have
article pops up.
This is how they do it.
Yes.
This is what you should do next. Step-by-step guides that walks the agent through the interaction step by step to get a desired outcome for the customer.
Exactly.
And that's a double whammy, because you're getting a better experience as a customer. Your issue's getting resolved quickly.
Yes.
I mean, how many times have you called in somewhere and the agent says, I got to put you on hold.
Or I need to transfer you.
Or I need to transfer you. And then I can't tell you how many times I've been transferred and the call is dropped.
Yes.
And then I call back and I'm in the queue again.
Yes.
And I'm waiting another 20 minutes. It's like I just waited on hold for 20 minutes, finally got to somebody, and then drop. So much can happen during that transfer period, right? If you're a customer, when you finally get a hold of somebody, you want that issue resolved quickly. And it's a single call.
First call resolution.
And the agent feels empowered.
Yes.
They have all the knowledge across the entire organization at their disposal that they don't even have to search for. It is provided right there for them.
Right. I mean, I can tell you just recently, a couple of days ago, I had a call a service with help on one of my accounts. And I could hear the frustration in the agent that was helping me, because she got to a certain point and we just needed one more thing so that she could resolve my call, but she wasn't authorized to do it. She had to, no matter what, transfer to another area. And that's the kind of challenges that we want to make sure that we eliminate, right? That we can empower our agents to resolve all customer or most customer questions on the first call. But yeah, and I say customers are frustrated, but I can tell you that I think agents get frustrated too when they can't help that customer resolve their question or their issue or their challenge in that first interaction.
Mm-hmm. They want to help you.
They do.
It's frustrating when they can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And so many great outcomes that you've already seen through Central Pacific Bank, of course, but
absolutely.
But now you're on your own.
Right? I am.
Recently, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
A couple weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks ago. Actually, this is 2.5 weeks now.
How does it feel?
Fabulous.
Fabulous?
Fabulous.
So glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Fabulous. I had a great 38-year run with the bank. Loved it. No regrets. Absolutely loved my journey there. I'm excited on this next journey.
Oh,
I am definitely excited. I get to focus on Amazon Connect. I get to focus on the mission of helping our local businesses get tech enabled through Amazon Connect, through their helping them to build on their customer experience. Hopefully, an opportunity to build more tech jobs here in Hawaii, so that we can keep our kids home here. But I just, I'm excited about this. I'm passionate about Connect. I am passionate about Connect. Morse, I'm glad that we've got to reconnect. I'm glad that Morse is a partner integration for Amazon Connect. I'm looking forward to working on that with your company and seeing what good, more good that we can bring to Hawaii, to our businesses, to solving these common issues around call centers that can benefit small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses. Connect is for everyone, not just for the big players. And that's what I want people to understand, that you don't have to be this large company to use the Connect platform. And I think that, I'm guessing, but I'm thinking that's where AWS was going, that they were building a platform for everyone, not just for those that could afford it, because it is an affordable product.
Absolutely. No matter how big or small your company is, or where you're at in your contact center journey.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something I want to just double click on before we wrap up here, and that's keeping young tech talent here on the islands and not feeling like they have to go abroad to seek out better opportunities. And that plays into the broader mission here. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think that's part of your story, that one reason why you are so passionate about Connect, because you see what it can do for local businesses here and helping keep those, I call them kids, but 22 to 25, 28-year-olds that maybe just graduated college, keep them here at home. Right. And that's very near and dear to your heart, as with many Hawaiians. Right.
I mean, Hawaii is all about ohana. It's all about staying with family, sticking with family, and being home. Being home and working at home where you grew up. But Hawaii's economy, it is expensive. And, for our younger kids, it's all about tech. And if they can't, if they don't have the tech jobs here to keep them home, of course they're going to go to the mainland. Today they go to the mainland for school.
Yeah.
And, once they go there, the opportunities are just endless.
It's hard to come back.
It's hard to come back. Yeah. And without anything for them to come back to, we won't get them back. And being able to build, a focus around Amazon Connect, the development around that, creating tech jobs that we can educate our younger generations on how to develop, how to create, how to maintain, and get those jobs opened here. We won't be able to get them back. And that's what I want to do. I am interested and I am passionate about creating an ecosystem here where we can create tech jobs around Connect and build positions, whether it's development, whether it's administrators, and get these kids certified so that they can feel comfortable, that they can come home, work, and live and support themselves, their families right here where they grew up.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And that goes beyond just, business value.
Yes.
Right? We're talking about family.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly important. And I love hearing that.
Yeah.
And
the great thing is they're the next generation.
Yeah.
They understand it. They understand what their generations will want. But imagine them building these AI contact centers of the future to help, they understand the culture. They understand what everyone's looking for. But to actually have them in the seats as professional building around this technology, I think that's going to be huge for businesses.
I absolutely agree. And by extension, huge for the state of Hawaii's economy.
Exactly.
And I think, it's cliche to go back to the COVID days, but I think COVID kind of shined a really big light and exposed some things that, maybe we are a little bit too reliant on tourism.
Yes.
Because when that gets taken away from us, our economy takes a massive hit. So how can we diversify our economy to the point where we're not so reliant on tourism?
Right. Absolutely.
And that could be technology. That could be improving healthcare and financial services through technology.
Right.
And I think Honolulu, man, I mean, first of all, who wouldn't want to live here? Incredibly beautiful. I'm at Waikiki every morning. It's awesome. So beautiful.
Yeah.
It could be the next little tech hub.
Right.
I think if,
there's a potential, right?
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I will say I'm very excited for the future here, though, and everything that we're doing together and just in general for the state. I think there is an appetite to take that next step in technology for businesses now. They're understanding the importance of it.
Yes.
And I'm very enthusiastic about the future here and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. And, if I think, we talk about the art of the possible, and I think there's just so much opportunity here. In this particular space, I can say that I'm open to talking to anyone, any local business here in Hawaii that would like to talk about, the journey that I've been through with Amazon Connect, where I am today and where I plan to go, how I can help them, even in their discussions, if they're even thinking about getting on a platform, if they're even thinking about, how do we get started and what integration partners should we look at, and what are the questions to ask. I'm happy to do that, there's so much more. We've just skimmed the surface of what we can do with Connect here in the islands. Morse, you guys are well versed on the product, and you've got talent there in the organization. You guys get it. You understand it. You understand how you've been here for a little while, but you already understand the culture.
Yeah.
The Hawaii culture.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's huge.
Yeah.
So to come in and say, yeah, I get the culture. That's huge to come from an integrator that has not been here a lot.
It's probably the most important thing. Here specifically.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I appreciate about Morse is the first thing is, hey, I get the culture. I get what you're talking about. And, that's important. If you can get an integration partner to come out the gate saying that, that's huge, especially here in Hawaii. That speaks volumes because that's what Hawaii is about. It's all about the culture.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
it's all
as
about
it should
Ohana.
be.
Yeah.
Ohana.
Yes.
And I love it. I love the culture, the people, so welcoming and friendly. And I like the island vibes. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to coming back. Definitely.
Well, we're looking forward to having you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I think that's about it, Adrienne. Okay. Again, I really, really appreciate you coming on for this talk. Your story is so unique and I think powerful. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to share with the world. And especially here in the state of Hawaii, people need to hear it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm really thankful that you came on and were so open and honest and sharing your story with us today.
Thanks, Dan. And thanks for having me. I appreciate I appreciate your relationship and just being open to just hearing from anyone about what their journey is and really taking a passionate stance around the Hawaii businesses and how you folks can help. And so I definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to it. So
yes.
Thanks again, Adrienne.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And let's go get some lunch, huh?
Sounds good.
All right. Perfect.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.